Flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next is roll call.
Hold on 1 minute, Mayor. After I call roll. Sorry, we need to send a link out to City Attorney. Councilmember Murray.
Present.
Councilmember Ryan.
Here.
Councilmember McCardle.
Here.
Mayor Matsumoto Wright.
Here.
Councilmember Sonmore. Councilmember Woodard.
Present.
And Mayor Pro Tem Wall asked to be excused.
Move to excuse. I'm not me, but somebody please move.
Move to excuse.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Can someone, do I say this or someone else bring it up? To add something to the agenda, and I would like it under 2A.
I believe the mayor is asking to add an item to the agenda to have a recognition of City Clerk, Community Relations Director Virginia Clough early in the meeting this evening. The mayor's provided cake. We have some folks in the audience to impart their wishes. This is Virginia's last official council meeting, unless the council would like to add additional meetings through the balance of this month. Perhaps Monday through Friday of the next 2 weeks. I'm available if you are, and I think that would be great. So that's the mayor's request.
So moved.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So we will add that as 2A. Thank you. So, first thing on our agenda is the adoption of the resolution of the appreciation for the Smith family and Tour de Terrace, Virginia.
Here we go. Thank you, Mayor. If the Smiths would join me up by the table, and I'd like to introduce our First Lady, as I like to call her, Judy Smith, her son Scott, her daughter-in-law Tisa, and remotely we have Samantha Costello, who's Judy's granddaughter. And these folks are Tour de Terrace. And of course, we all remember Jerry, our former mayor, and I know he's with us tonight. And I'm going to read a little bit about what they have done for our community and then talk for a little bit. This is a resolution of appreciation recognizing the Smith family for the Tour de Terrace Seafair Festival. Whereas the Tour de Terrace Seafair Sanctioned Festival was established to build community pride and celebrate the city's 40th anniversary in 1994. And whereas the founders of Tour de Terrace were Jerry and Judy Smith, residents of the city of Mountlake Terrace since 1969. And whereas in 1994, Jerry and Judy Smith worked with family members as well as a number of organizations and community volunteers to plan and operate the event. And whereas the first Tour de Terrace included a parade down 56th Avenue and a birthday cake for the community, and whereas Seafair has provided Seafair clowns, pirates, and marshals for the parade, and that partnership continues today. And whereas over the years, the event has grown with a parade, carnival, beer garden, live music, pancake breakfast, classic car show, street fair, food vendors, fireworks show, and a 5K fun run walk. And whereas the Tour de Terrace organization has provided volunteers for many of the city's tree lighting ceremonies and provided equipment for the National Night Out Against Crime event. And whereas the city expresses its appreciation to the Smith family, including Judy Smith, her son Scott Smith, daughter-in-law Tisa Smith, and granddaughter Samantha Costello, who's joining us remotely from Florida tonight. Since our former mayor, Jerry Smith, passed away in 2018, these family members have continued this beloved Mountlake Terrace tradition. The efforts of the Smith family and their volunteers have instilled great pride in our community, and the event has become iconic in the region. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Mountlake Terrace, Washington, hereby resolves to adopt this resolution of appreciation, recognizing the Smith family's positive contributions to the community. Thank you. And Samantha, I'll be mailing your proclamation or your resolution to you. And, you know, I've worked with this family for 20 of the Tour de Terraces, and it was my kid's first job helping them out. And so they know me very well, and we have become family over the last 21 years, and literally with a family member living with Judy right now. And so I see them regularly, and I think you all know, and you might hear a little more later, that, you know, Jerry and Judy were my biggest supporters, and, you know, he was mayor 15 of my years here and on council for 17. So this family makes that happen. And if you've ever gone to the tree lighting ceremony, they're the ones back there making the cocoa in that big 5-gallon, you know, what do you call that, Scott? That big cooler thermos thing, and getting those cookies and handing them out. And then all those tables and chairs we use for National Night Out, and they really are wonderful to loan equipment and the big grill for the hot dogs and stuff in the past. So thank you for all that you do for Mountlake Terrace. People don't know it's literally these 3 people. They've had a very small committee over the years, and over the years those people have dropped off, and it can't continue unless we get new volunteers. And so for those of you that really had a great time at Tour de Terrace, we need you to volunteer and help these folks out. So I thank the council for thinking about recognizing them here at the meeting, because when Jerry was on the council, he never accepted any you know, accolades and played it down. But now that he's not here, it's nice to really recognize your family. And, you know, he would make a joke about me right now and all of this. And I hear it. But we're really just glad that you're here and in our new chambers right next to the plaza named after him. And we're thinking of you. And thank you very much.
I hate talking to people. I don't know what to say. This is a great community. There's nothing other like it that I've seen around. And we all come together and seem to get it worked out. It's nice seeing everybody so happy, though, on Tour de Terrace.
I want to thank everyone on the board. You have a great staff that work for you. When we needed help, your staff came and helped us, and it made a big event. I got it back.
We pitch in, but we want to support these folks because they mean a lot to us, and they're really kind of an extension of city staff at times. So thanks for all that you do, and I'm glad that we finally recognized you, because it's way overdue. Thank you. Actually, great question, Councilmember Sommer. Samantha, did you want to say anything?
No, I'm crying.
You're good, okay. And I'll open it up to the council if you'd like to make any remarks.
All right, I'll start with Councilmember Ryan.
Of course, thank you, but I especially want to thank Scott for riding the Ferris wheel on King 5 News
Q13.
when I woke up and watched the news. And they asked him, "Do you like Ferris wheels?" He said, "No, I don't." Says, "Well, you're going on one." So it was very funny. But the whole thing turned out really well. And thank you, Tisa. She drove around in a truck bigger than I'd drive, picking up stuff and tables and chairs. And So good job. And then Judy, you did all that, the craft booth, I think, and the food people, and they were featured on Channel 5 also, that barbecue place. Yeah. So excellent job. Thank you.
We'll go with Councilmember Salmore first and then Murray.
Thank you. As you know, you've created a lifetime of memories. Can you hear me now? Sorry. Oh, good. Sorry about that. I'm still getting used to the mic. But as you know, you've created a lifetime of family memories for me. I just want to say thank you for that. And I see Bonnie and Dave are out in the audience too that have always helped so much. But looking back at the last 21 years of being in the parade, I just posted on my Facebook 3 pictures of the council being in the car, and I wish I had all 21 of them because you can see my grandson in the car growing up. You can see my daughter in the car growing up, and just the other day I saw a picture of Patrick, Virginia's son, and my daughter in a golf cart cleaning up Terrace. And additionally, we've had high school reunions there. I've met friends I haven't seen before, but you've created something that touches everybody's heart. You create long-lasting memories. You've become family. I could go on, but I want to just sum it up by saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Our hearts are truly blessed, and I miss Jerry. And just thank you, and Samantha, you as well, your family, you know, and just thank you for all the great memories. Sorry, I'm tearing up too, but that's all.
The Kleenex box is over there.
I'll need one for the next one too.
All right, Erin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you to the entire Smith family. I think like so many folks who live in Mountlake Terrace, my introduction to our community was very much through the Tour de Terrace parade. And you foster a sense of community that has ripple effects across our community and the residents who live here and those who live beyond our borders as well. And so just incredibly grateful for the foresight to have created this event in the first place, the dedication and the hard work that it takes year after year to continue to put it on. And just, you know, I'm so incredibly appreciative for that and look forward to working hard as a community to get you the support that you need to ensure that this can go on in a sustainable way as we move forward into the future. And also, I would love to get Judy at the front of the parade. That's my personal goal. So I figured I'd just put it out to the universe while y'all are here today. But just incredibly grateful. It is one of my family's favorite things about summer. It is a place where we come together with neighbors and friends that we don't always get to see all of the time. And particularly this year, it was a really powerful reminder of the impact that events like this have on our ability to come together as a community and remember the things that we really value about living here in one another. And so just thank you so much for all of the work that all of you do.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilmember Woodard and then McCardle.
First, I'm going to politely ask Tisa to step back to the front. You don't get to be in the background there. Everybody's going to do tears today, so you got to show yours as well. You know, actually, I'll ask you to do that. And Sam, I see you as well online. I really just want to say thank you for the family, really. It's for your family, what you represent. You have embodied volunteerism. You have embodied inclusivity, right? I mean, you welcome folks to our city. You, when I think about it, are our city. My own family got a chance to grow up and watch you from the side, and I don't think I've ever had a chance to tell you this. I wanted to be Jerry. I really did. I didn't know mayor, I didn't know city council, but I knew that's a good dude. And what he's doing is amazing. And I'm honored that on his way out the door, he was very, very kind to me every time, but he recognized me for my alter ego that you know on National Night Out, that he got a chance to see that. I can tell you that courage came from watching him do what he does. And I loved hearing all the stories. One of my favorites, even though I wasn't a part of it, is him driving a tractor or something like that down the street. and the city manager at the time passing by going, what is going on with my mayor? But all of that, just taking risks and just being there. And again, for your example of family, Sam, we see you in Florida. You took time out. You're in a different time zone. That said, you flew in, and rather than just kick back on a couch, you were out there hustling. Right? I came out one afternoon to try to help out, and I'm still feeling that to this day, and I'm fairly in shape. So I cannot imagine how you've been doing this year in and year out. And this is just one example, as you've been hearing. The Garden Club, Tour de Terrace, the art show. I mean, there are so many things that your family's name are associated with. It's an honor that it's right outside that door every day. That said, I do want to be clear. I happen to have a colleague in the back of the room with Volunteers of America, and we're going to figure out how to make sure we get more volunteers on your side moving forward, because that's just embarrassing. Nothing on our city. We just didn't know. But now that we know, we can't look away. So we'll figure this out, but I just, again, wanted to say thank you all for the example you have set, and moving forward, I'm sure you'll keep doing other stuff, but just everything that you've done. So thank you so much.
Okay. Doug?
Thank you, Mayor. There's not much more I can add. I agree totally with everything that's been said, except for just a big thank you and for your dedication and commitment to what started out as a community event and a celebration for Mountlake Terrace, but has really turned into a regional event where you have people coming from all around this area just to participate and experience Tour de Terrace. When I first got on council, every time I'd head out the door to a meeting, my daughter would always tell me, Dad, have fun changing the world one city at a time. And Tour de Terrace is evidence that your family and your dedication to everything has done that. It's truly changed the city, and just the idea of what Mountlake Terrace is and what we can do when we come together as a community. So thank you.
So it's my turn, but I don't know what to add except for because my son, way before I even knew who Jerry Smith was or the family, we would always go to the parade every single year. And then Yoshua, I think, was in third grade when the library got him to be one of the Caterpillar kids. And so he was in the parade so much. And even when he was breakdancing in the parade, he wanted to watch the parade. He didn't want to be in the parade. And this year he was gone, he was in Las Vegas performing, so he couldn't be at Tour de Terrace. But we'll hopefully make it next year because he has so many fond memories of Tour de Terrace and of Uncle Jerry too, because he, I don't know, those two can get into their own trouble, right? So all I can say is thank you, and I'm glad that we can finally do this for the family and let the world know that it's really you guys putting it on. They think the city is putting it on, but it's really you guys. Thank you. Okay, yes. Go ahead.
Hi, I'd also like to thank for the Tour de Terrace parade, a person with a very old car named Dave Mercer as a Model A, and his wife, Bonnie Mercer, for having the flowers up with the garden club. So when we drive up, really pretty. So I wanted to just thank you both for helping out. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else before I go to 2A? We're still going to need the, Kleenexes on this next one. It's the meeting that I never wanted to happen, but it's happening. This is Virginia, our city clerk's very last city council meeting. I even hate to say those words, but it is. And I just wanted to thank Virginia for 21 years with the city the longest-serving city clerk in our history. Over 1,000 council meetings. She worked under 4 mayors and 4 city managers. And over 20 Tour de Terraces and 20 national night outs. So with her goes our city history. Because if we need to get something done or have to remember something, I don't know if I can remember it all. I don't know if anyone, all of us put together, can remember everything that's in Virginia's memory. So before we do have cake for this occasion, but before we do that, I want to see if anyone wants to say anything before we, Councilmember Sonmore? You can go first.
I just had a few words to say. So we are experiencing thank you, Steve. We are experiencing the imminent departure of our city's Community Relations Director and City Clerk and friend, who has accepted a position way over here, east of the mountains. Virginia joined our city in 2001. While at the city, Virginia communicated to citizens, staff, and many others. Project managed many events, such as the Evergreen Awards, mentoring, involved in community outreach and engagements, city budgets, collaborated with problem solving. It's always good to think ahead. I'll pass those down. Oh boy, the floodgates are going to open here. Involved in community outreach and engagements, city budget, collaborative problem solving, policy development, and many others. As city clerk, Virginia prepared agendas, minutes, managed the city's clerk's office, supported, researched, and prepared reports. We have celebrated great events and successes in the city, such as federal funding and the new civic campus that she held a big role in. And that's why we're all in this beautiful building. And we've experienced extreme loss of loved ones during this 21 years that we've been together. Reflecting back and sparking some memories, going through countless numbers of these beautiful newsletters. Virginia had to bring some from 2006. And experiencing and reflecting back, and I'm just trying to spark some memories here. Virginia, you've been a stable force within our city of Mountlake Terrace. She's helped lead events and kept the council prepared. So I'm just going to reflect back on a few little things just to make you cry. Virginia has been a stable force within the city. She helped lead many events and kept the council informed. Planning the town center vision she helped with, the new fire station, light rail, spring cleanups, council's rules and regulations, volunteerism, national night out, Tour de Terrace, the firework ban, surveys, many surveys, marketing, helping market Mountlake Terrace to others and let them know how wonderful our city's been. And do you remember the 60th birthday party for the city? And working on the history of Mountlake Terrace. Mountlake Terrace has received awards and honors such as the Standard Poor's and the AA rating, the Evergreen Awards that build community pride. If you haven't seen an Evergreen Award, Virginia would go out to the person's home, take pictures of their flowers, their dogs, their animals, and read the loveliest contribution to what they've done to our city. We always told them that that should be their Christmas card that year because it was unbelievable, the amount of work that went into it. She helped with City Finance 101 award, presentations, numerous open houses, the Christmas tree lighting event, employee appreciation events, and then just to name drop, Connie Flessler, John Caulfield, Vic Sood, Pat McMahon, Pat Cordova, Stan Cron, the Gossets, Judy and Jerry Smith, and many others. I'm just bringing up those names, Virginia, so you know that you have touched those people's lives and many others in so many ways. And for that, you are truly awesome. And now I want to say goodbye. I don't want to say goodbye because I'm not going to, because I don't believe in saying goodbye. I believe in saying, set new sails for new adventures and keep in touch. But I'll never say goodbye to you because I just couldn't do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Want to go next?
Sure, I'll go.
Okay. Councilmember Ricardo.
Thank you, Mayor. Virginia, I just want to take a moment and if I was thinking if Mountlake Terrace was a circus, the city council and the city staff, you would be the juggler. And at times you'd be juggling all the balls, and at other times it would be fire sticks and maybe sometimes even chainsaws. But just your ability to do your job, which I don't think a lot of us really know everything you do, is just amazing. And it's just proven over and over again, just your ability to do, like I said, your job. And I think what the city will miss most is your expertise, your flexibility, your integrity, your wisdom, your patience, and your grace that you brought to your job every day. And so you are going to be missed. You have huge shoes to try to fill. Not sure how we'll do it, but I wish you the best of luck. I understand the need to move and kind of as you're heading into I'll say it, the twilight years of your working, to go someplace where you have a chance to set up a community, get involved, make some friends, so you just don't, retire from Mountlake Terrace and move somewhere where you don't know anybody and you're trying to fit in. So, from that perspective, I understand the need to move on, but very saddened that you are. So again, just thank you for everything you brought to the table every day to your job.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Murray and then Ryan. And then we'll go.
Thank you, Mayor. I will keep it short because I feel like I'm going to get very emotional. If Tour de Terrace was my introduction to community in Mountlake Terrace, Virginia, you were absolutely my introduction to the city of Mountlake Terrace. And what a representative you are of our city and our city staff. And we could not have asked for someone to function in the role that you function in with more care and diligence. You are such a beloved member of our community, and part of the reason that when we talk to particularly, it's been so fun interviewing commissioners or potential commissioners for boards and commissions. And what they say they always like best about Mountlake Terrace is the sense of community. And you have intentionally fostered that over the years that you have been here. And I am just incredibly grateful to have had the opportunity to know you, to come onto the city council at a time where you were here to lend support. And we will miss you greatly, and I am so excited for you and your next steps, and wish you nothing but the best, with all of the gratitude for all of the care and all of the time and dedication that you have given to our community over the years. So thank you so much.
Okay, Councilmember Ryan.
I'd say hear, hear, and bless you and your husband for your future coming up. Thank you.
Councilmember Woodard.
Thank you, Mayor. I finally understand the word bittersweet. And I'm going to make this very personal. Where the Smith family gave me the dream, you gave me the engineering. And folks wouldn't know this, but I had a very interesting route to this chair, which is just to say that I was on the library board. I love looking at our library. And I was intentional about joining the library board, and then they sunsetted it, which just means it went away. And so I was about to go away. But then Virginia said, no, you don't get to do that. We need to find another spot for you. And I thought, that's interesting. Do you know who I am? But we ended up putting me on RPAC, which ended up being the truest blessing I can think of, because that was when I think I really, really started to lean into the city and figure out what is this city about. But I owe you that thank you, because there's no way I would have figured out that. And there's too many things that can go from that, but just know that that engineering has meant a lot to my family. But that you gave me the engineering wasn't enough. You actually were the one who also showed me I can stay in this seat. And I don't know that anyone of this would know, on the council would know, or anyone else would know, but I know when that happened was when you invited me to hang out with your friends. Now, folks might be thinking, what? Virginia is truly an exceptional person, and every clerk in the state of Washington would vouch for that. And they had a conference, and Virginia was in charge of figuring out who to bring to talk as council members to the new clerks, and somehow she chose me, who had only been on council a handful of hours, most of them in COVID, but the trust that you put in front of me at that moment really was the moment I realized, wow, maybe I can do this, because you said I can do this. Just with that act, I think I'd already been doing it, but I didn't think I was truly doing it well. But that gave me the confidence to kind of turn around and go, well, why don't you really try and do even better than what you think you're trying to do? So bittersweet that I could say to the two families who put this third family in this seat, thank you so much. I just want to say that. And I'll end it with, I know we're connected. And I'm a baseball player, which is to let you know I'm super, super superstitious. And you wrote to me to say, hey, as it should turn out, there's a Woodard on the council in the city that I'm moving to. And I went, and there you have it. We do not have to say goodbye, because I'll see my name in some light in front of you, even though it won't be me, the person. But nonetheless, thank you for everything that you have done. I could go much longer, but just know that the engineering that you have provided for a lot of us has not gone unappreciated, although it may have gone unacknowledged until this moment. So thank you.
Well, I don't know what more to add. It's, you know, we could have and should have done a lot of this much sooner. We thought that you knew how much you meant to us, and you did, but we didn't, you know, we were working, and in that working relationship, you know, we had our oh, what am I trying to say? But anyways, I think you realize what you mean to us. That's what I'm trying to say, and it's proven here how much you really do mean to us, and how much we're going to miss you, because why else would we need this box of Kleenex sitting next to us? So I don't know how we're going to do this. Do we do first of all, have Virginia respond, but then do we do a break for cake cutting, or?
Mayor, I'd suggest that with the guests we have in presenting tonight, that perhaps we get through a couple of the presentations on the agenda and then have a recess for the reception. In particular, I'm thinking perhaps you could move up the presentation on the Snohomish County Comprehensive Solid Waste Plan to next, because they are online for us, and then perhaps take a recess for cake before we continue on with staff reports, if that would work.
So move the number 7, hold it, number 8 over to 4A.
Yeah, perhaps right after public comment.
Okay, so right after 3. Okay. Do we have to make a motion to move that?
I believe you can do it by consensus. So if the council is comfortable doing that, moving item number 8 to follow public comment on the agenda. And then after that, you could return to, you could have a recess for a brief reception and then go into city business involving staff.
But before we get to that, I would like to have our city clerk, Virginia, say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I really appreciate the memories and the thoughts. And I'm not retiring. I still have 9 years left, but I will be a ways away. So when you have the AWC conference in Spokane, I expect to be hanging out with you. But I recall last January when Edith retired, you let her say a few words. So about 6 o'clock tonight, I started to write down some thoughts. So I'm sorry for the guests in the audience. We didn't know this was happening until today. But many of you probably think of me as the seasoned veteran on the ELT, or maybe the crabby old city clerk. But when I started back in 2001, I was the new kid on the block with most of the leadership team about 15 to 20 years older than me. My kids were 2 and 5 years old, not even in school yet, and today they're college graduates living out of state and supporting themselves and off my insurance, so that's pretty cool. They were dragged along to many national night outs, spring and fall cleanups. I bribed them with the food, and as mentioned earlier, their first jobs were at Terrace. Councilmember Sonmore, you started on the council 7 or 8 months before I was hired, and so we have the same frame of references. 5 of you came up through our boards and commissions. Councilmember Wall was on, or pardon me now, Mayor Pro Tem Wall was on the Planning Commission since the early 90s and didn't get on the council till 2012. But Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem, I've known them since I started because they were on the Planning Commission way back then, and Councilmember McCardle was on the Planning Commission, Councilmember Ryan was on the Rec and Park Commission, Councilmember Woodard, I remember walking to the tree lighting telling you to get on the library board. That's where I met you. I've also, and Councilmember Murray, you worked on the second and third campaigns to pass the civic campus bond back in 2012 and 13, and that's where we met. So you all have a special place in my heart, and I have so many special and wonderful memories with all of you. I've also had the pleasure of working with 4 mayors, including Dave Gossett, before he was elected to Snohomish County Council, Pat Cordova, who still lives in town and calls me. Jerry Smith was elected to the council a few months after I started and served 2 years as council member and then 15 as mayor before he passed. And now Mayor Matsumoto Wright has taken the reins for nearly 4 years. I've worked with a couple dozen council members or more. I've lost track. And I've worked with 4 city managers, not counting interims. Each of them, including you, Scott, have taught me so many things and mentored me and provided professional development opportunities to be where I am today, 21 years later. I've had so many friends and mentors on the city's leadership team, particularly early in my career when I was really learning. And in no particular order, I'd like to recognize Recreation and Parks Director Don Sarcletti, Engineering Director Will Van Rye, Senior Planner Edith Dutlinger, CED Director Shane Hope, Finance Director Sonia Springer, Fire Chief Brad Redding, and City Attorney Greg Schrag. Currently, I've worked so many events with Ken Courtmanch and Jeff Betts and their team in Recreation and Parks. Our city could not do events without their leadership. And then the people that are closest to you are the ones that make you look good. I get a lot of the credit. But I'd like to recognize all the admin assistants and deputy city clerks, including going back to 2003 when the position was created, Denise, Teresa, Tracy, Leslie, and now Jennifer. 2 community relations specialists, Penny and Ricky. 2 public records officers, Corey and Rebecca. And the newest members of our team, Bernadette and Lisa, who provide administrative support. All of these folks are the ones who keep the train on the track and work behind the scenes, and I'm proud to have worked with each and every one of them. The current ELT with Scott, Stephen, Pete, Jeff, Leslie, Christy, Eric, Janella, and Hillary are awesome, and I will miss you all. We also have so many excellent city staff in all the departments, and I've enjoyed working with them. The people who really touch my heart, though, and some of them are in the audience tonight, are those 22,000 plus out there who volunteer or call me with a problem or a concern and provide words of support when you need to hear it. And since we opened up the City Hall 2 weeks ago, I've run into so many of these wonderful folks I've connected with over the years, and I'm really sad to leave all of you. I take public service very seriously, and I always try to go the extra mile to help you with your concerns, and they're not going to be happy when they call my number. It's not me. I would like to also pay homage to the city's first city clerk, Lucille Ford, later known as Lucille Person, who worked her tail off for 18 years to help the city grow and prosper, and fill in as interim city manager a couple of times. And Mavis Fay, who I shadowed for about a week, and then she went on a cruise and retired and said, here's my manual, and if you need help, you got to call Briar or Mill Creek. So I was thrown into the fire. And Connie Fessler, my first city manager, who was a wonderful mentor, she told me to join WMCA and learned from my colleagues. And I have wonderful WMCA colleagues, and advanced to president of that organization just a couple of years ago before COVID. The Smith family, who were recognized tonight, are like a second family, and Jerry and Judy have always been my biggest supporters, so thank you, First Lady and Jerry. And I didn't know the Mercers were coming tonight, but I had a COVID wedding, and I called, and I had to get a new location because I couldn't go to Canada. They had a COVID outbreak at my next venue, and I called the Nile, and they were furloughed, and they said, but you can have your wedding here. Do you know the Mercers? And so the Mercers were actually my wedding venue people. And so they served as witnesses for my wedding just less than 2 years ago. So they're very special. It's nice to have them here tonight. So with that, as Jerry used to say, moving right along, next on the agenda, which I thought was going to be the recognition of the Smith family, and I think next on the agenda now is public comment. So how appropriate that feels tonight after so many meetings together, and thank you for the opportunity to serve this great community filled with wonderful people. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go on to our next item on the agenda, and then we have one more item, and then we will break for the cake at that time. And I hope that everyone in the audience would stay for that too. So next on our agenda is public comment. Do we have any?
Yes, Mayor, we have two signed up tonight. If Kirk Pearson, you're signed up first. If you could go to the lectern, you have 5 minutes to speak to the council and tell us your city of record.
Thank you very much. And first of all, I'd like to say, well, what an honor to be here tonight with congratulations on moving on, and congratulations to the family. It's not often you get to go to a city council meeting and hear such wonderful things. So thank you all for your family service. And for the record, my name is Kirk Pearson. I along with my good friend, Dr. Woodard, I work for Volunteers of America for Western Washington, and I'm here tonight kind of in an informal setting here just to let you know about a neighborhood center that we are going to be building here very soon, next coming year, over in the Linwood area off of 196 where Trinity Lutheran is. And it's not just a neighborhood center for Linwood. We're looking at this for all of South County, and we're very excited to be bringing this to you because we were approached a number of years ago by Trinity Lutheran and the famous Rick Steves, who wanted to see something to give back to the community. And with that, we took on that challenge, and we're very excited to let you know that we went through COVID where we had to do a stop work, but we've designed a community center that will serve, I believe, all of you. And I mean that because of the partnerships that we have created. We're going to be working with the Boys and Girls Club. We're looking at the Korean Community Service Center, the Latino Educational Training Institute, Center for Human Services, and more, medical and dental and other facilities. And recently, you had here in Mountlake Terrace a resident survey, and item 1, bullet 1, regarding her resident survey regarding ARPA funding and where should it go, expanding access to mental and behavioral health and additional services in your community. And I'm very happy to tell you that that's part of what we're going to be doing on the second floor. The first floor, we're going to be doing a lot of for childcare, which is very important, and ECAP, early childhood education. But the next floor, we will be doing behavioral health from that to dispute resolution to other medical services. So these are services that we anticipate that we will get around over 20,000 people a year served. And that is the community here. So we're very excited, and we'd love to partner with all of you here. And I'm available in the future. Dr. Woodard can give you my name, but you know who he is too. But we both have worked on this, and Mayor, thank you for coming to our open house. We did an open house several weeks ago and talked about how it's going to affect all the communities here in South County. So thank you, and it's great to be here, and I honor all of you, and I honor you too, City Clerk, as my past history, a former elected official, and I appreciate what you all do. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Up next is Rebecca Minor. You have 5 minutes to speak to the council.
Good evening, Mayor Matsumoto Wright and members of the council. My name is Rebecca Minor, and I'll be serving as the interim superintendent for the Edmonds School District this year. And so I just wanted to stop by to introduce myself. You are the fifth, only because of the way schedules worked out, of the city council meetings that I went to. And I have to say tonight was a really special feeling. And I'm so glad even in a short period of time, I got to meet the Smith family in Virginia and just feel your bittersweet nature tonight, but also the celebration of this family and their contributions. I look forward to working with you this year to support our community's most treasured resource, its children. So don't hesitate to reach out if there's anything I can do, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you and welcome. I didn't know you were coming tonight, or I would have come over and said hello. Is there anyone else that would like to speak here in the council chambers before I go to the computer? Okay. And then for those in the audience online, would anyone like to speak to the council? You have 5 minutes. Please use the hand raise tool in Zoom. Going once? Going twice? Okay, Mayor, I think we're finished with public comment.
All right, thank you. So next on our agenda is 3A, which is the review and adoption of the Snohomish County Comprehensive Solid and Hazardous Waste Plan.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here today just to introduce the representative from Snohomish County, John Greninger. The county has requested that we adopt a resolution for the Snohomish County Comprehensive Solid and Hazard Waste Plan. They've been working for the last couple years, doing really good work on developing this plan. The state RCWs say that the city has a choice of either adopting the plan developed by the county or developing our own, and I say let's use their good work. And with that, I will hand over the reins to John.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for letting me be part of the meeting tonight on such a night of community. Unfortunately, now we're going to start talking about solid waste. So it's, I'll try to make it as entertaining and quick as I can. That way you can all have some refreshments and acknowledge everybody. So I do have a quick presentation. So I'm going to share my screen with you. There we go. So can you all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So again, my name is John Greninger. I'm the solid waste superintendent for Snohomish County. And we have been working for the last couple of years on the comprehensive solid and hazardous waste management plan. I know that's kind of a mouthful, but that's the plan. And what I'm going to go over tonight is I'm just going to give you kind of a timeline of the update process that we've been going through, a general overview of the plan and how it's broken up. And it's broken up into 3 parts: of volume 1, of volume 2, and appendices. And then kind of the next steps of the plan are, and some general updates. So the timeline for this is we started the plan in January of 2020. Now, what do we know that also started in about January of 2020, right? It is right when COVID was hitting us all pretty hard, and really the plan just came to a standstill. And then through COVID, it was kind of a slog, just trying to keep it going as we're dealing with all of these other regional and global issues. So we started in 2020, and we went through a series of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee meetings, the SWAC meetings. We went through ecology review, additional edits, public comment, incorporated all of those changes, went back, and our SWAC committee created an endorsement of the plan to our county council, and we did SEPA review. So where we're at right now is I have to go to all the cities in Snohomish County and ask their city councils for a resolution of adoption. Once I get all of the resolution of adoptions for all the cities in the county, then I go to county council for the same resolution of adoption. We do one final SWAC review, and then I can package it up and submit it to the Department of Ecology for final review and acceptance. So we're super close to the end. So kind of a general how I wrote the plan is and kind of one thing to help put it in perspective is we've been through 3 solid waste directors in the last 2 years, right? And I'm still here, so that's the good news. But I've been kind of working in concert with all the directors. And number 1, we want a usable plan that has a great framework for our solid waste activities throughout the county. Kind of highlighted importance is increased coordination and collaboration with all of our regional partners. And that's us at the local level, it's at the state and federal level as well. We want to also work more with our contracted partners and the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. A couple of the main priorities of the plan are defining the priorities of the Solid Waste Division. And at the county, we're real focused on continuous improvement and how we can just keep, kind of working with our solid waste oriented workflow and just to improve processes. And so that was kind of the core principles that I used in developing the plan. The plan's broken up into three parts. Really, it's volume 1 is the introduction. It's kind of I would say an expanded executive summary type. It's a summary of the current system. It shows updates from the previous plan, and it's also kind of describes the vision for the future, right? We have 2 goals. One, really to focus on how are we going to focus on climate change and sustainability. And goal number 2 is how do we continue to maintain efficient services for a changing population. So that's kind of volume 1. Volume 2 is, this is the meat of the plan. We have what we call, they're like chapters, but we call them technical memorandums. And all of these topics on the side here, on the left side, all of those topics are a separate chapter. And within each of those chapters, we go through all of these things: the summary, the background, review of the programs, planning issues, alternatives, and recommendations. So we address all of these issues and all of these topics. And additionally, all of these topics, the way the plan is organized is that it's kind of in the flow of waste throughout the county, right? All the way from the kind of the sustainability and waste prevention side, all the way to our administration and outreach and education. So it's all kind of a flow of, that's how the plan is organized. This third part of the plan are all of the appendices. The Department of Ecology requires us to have several mandated components in our CW about the plan. In particular, the UTC cost assessment, the waste quantities and composition. I mean, all of these are pretty much mandated. The new one is this Appendix H, which is a contamination reduction outreach plan. And then Appendix I is this resolution of adoption. So once we receive a resolution of adoption from the city of Mountlake Terrace, then I'll package that and include that in the overall plan submittal to ecology. So the next steps here is the city council resolution of adoption, then the county council resolution, final SWAC review, submit the plan to ecology for final review. And then as we go through the years, it's a 6-year plan, then we will update it as needed. And then my last slide is just some general updates for solid waste. Dave Schoenhardt is our new solid waste director. He's been in the role since February of this year. Dave's been with the county for over 33 years and is very knowledgeable about solid waste and is great to work with. One thing I wanted to present is that the city of Mountlake Terrace does not have a current SWAC representative. And so I think Eric was, I think he had reached out to Joanne, kind of one of my planners, for attending SWAC. And I think that was all kind of set. So that'd be great to have Eric on that committee. And then the interlocal agreement for solid waste services expires at the end of the year in 2023. And so city council will have the pleasure of seeing me and Dave Schoenhardt, our director, coming up pretty soon, talking about the interlocal agreement and renewal of that. We're going to hop on that here pretty quick. So that's the super quick review of me rambling about the solid waste comprehensive plan. And I will stop sharing my screen now. And if there's any questions from council, I'd be glad to take those.
Go ahead, Councilmember Murray.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, John, for being here and for the presentation and all of the work that went into preparing the comprehensive plan. I did have 2 questions. So we had some issues not too long ago at the Southwest Transfer Station where it was full and there wasn't a place to take that, and so folks couldn't bring trash to the transfer station. Could you speak a little bit how this plan perhaps addresses some of that in the future if it does?
Sure. It doesn't address the specific issue that we are experiencing currently in the solid waste system. And it's more of a broad, this is our plan. This is, we have a waste by rail type method for waste export in Snohomish County. So in general, it talks about that program and that process and where it goes. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't get into the weeds of how are we contractually dealing with Burlington Northern and Republic Services right now. It's just, in general, it's we have a waste export contract, and I think that's about as deep as it gets into the contract. But just know behind the scenes, we have weekly, if not like this week, we have daily conversations on that issue very much. So we're very involved in it, but the plan is more high level as far as the waste export's concerned.
Thank you. I appreciate the answer and all of the work behind the scenes to ensure that we have access to that resource. And then I guess my only other question, I'm not sure if this is a question for you or the city manager, but I don't know, imagine that we want to do this, but I guess I always like to know. So does moving forward and approving this preclude us from passing our own plan in the future at any point if we felt like that was in our best interests?
No, actually, I mean, if I can answer that. I mean, it is a requirement that you have a solid waste comprehensive plan. If you chose as a city to go out on your own and do that, then you could work with ecology and develop your own plan. And but you would also need, along with the plan, you also have to have your own facility, like your own transfer station to process the material. It has to be within the city limits. There's very specific requirements by RCW that you would have to abide by. And so that would be up to the city and you to budget for that and do all the planning. Or you partner with us in the interlocal agreement, and that's part of the waste system and the services that we provide.
Thank you so much, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Councilmember Salmore and then Woodard.
Thank you for being here. I just have a few questions. I know you have it in your report, but we do have people out in our audience today and listening in. Could you talk a little bit about waste exports and what's going on with China and how that will affect our waste and the trickle-down effect to cost to our residents?
Sure. So a few years ago, we call it kind of a China sword. It's the Chinese government really kind of locked down the import of recyclable materials. It's not so much the waste side as far as garbage, but it was more consumption of recyclables. And so because as a U.S., we pretty much were exporting kind of contaminated recyclables, right, over to overseas. And they kind of locked down on that, which forced us here on the mainland to have to figure out how to deal with all of these commodities ourselves, right? And that impacted a lot of the markets on how we can process material. A good example of that is glass. We used to export a lot of glass. Glass is really expensive to process it, here. We collect glass free of charge at our transfer stations, but it costs us $65 a ton to have it recycled. So there's lots of costs associated with it, and we're trying to promote as much recycling as we can, but it's getting harder and harder to harder to manage that. Whereas the waste by rail portion, that is strictly the municipal solid waste. That's the garbage side of things. And that's what we primarily collect at the transfer stations. That material is compacted into containers. It's put on rail at our intermodal facility in North Everett. And then it's shipped by Burlington Northern over to Kittitas County on the east side. And that's where it's at the Roosevelt landfill. That's where disposal happens. Does that kind of answer your question a bit?
It actually, I'm thinking of more questions as you're talking about it. So one thing would be, how do we less contaminate our waste? And I know other areas such as China, and there's other countries that no longer want to take our waste, but that's, the other countries are a different issue about what they do with it. But for our residents here, I know for waste management, one of the costs is if somebody puts recycling in their garbage and it's not done correctly, then down the road it has to be done again, and that's a cost. But how can we help with the cost? Because I'm seeing maybe costs going up. I know I just went to our waste area about 6 weeks ago, and I can't tell you, I was the 31st car in line. I thought I'd be there all day, but it was very well orchestrated. I got in and got out a lot faster than I thought. But in the future, what are different changes that will be seen? It sounds like change has to come no matter what.
Yeah, no, that's a great question with many parts. So I'll hit the main couple here. The issue of contamination is really big, and Appendix H of the plan is and this is a new one, a new requirement from ecology. It's the Contamination Reduction Outreach Plan. And we, Snohomish County, are working with Waste Management and Republic Services to come up with this plan. And what this is going to do is we're coming up with some methodologies to reduce the contamination in our recycle bins, curbside, right? So we will have cleaner products, less contamination, and I think that will help with keeping costs down, and it will help create a better product, better commodities that we were previously just kind of exporting the contamination off overseas. So I think we call it the crop plan. I think the crop plan will help for sure, and we're actively working with the haulers on that. Another big thing that we're going to talk about at the SWAC meeting tomorrow night is there's a new organics bill. It's House Bill 1799 that was just recently passed by the Washington legislature. And that has timelines for reduction of organics in the solid waste stream. So it will require, it's a massive bill. And we're still at ecology. They're trying to digest what it means. And at the county, we're working with multiple departments trying to figure out all of it. But in general, it's trying to keep the organics out of the garbage waste stream and make sure that they get composted and with the yard debris and the wood debris. So those are two huge things that are happening here very soon.
And just the follow-up question, how are rates going to go up in the future?
That's a great question. Right now, we are not doing a rate study, so they'll be consistent for the next year or so. I will, like everybody's mentioned, costs are going up. Our rates have stayed current for 14 years, and it's not so sustainable, but we're investigating what that looks like. And then as we go through and when we start investigating rate studies, then we'll approach that through the SWAC committee. And so hopefully we'll have a Mountlake Terrace representative in there, and then they can report back to council as well. But right now there's no immediate increase to rates that we're looking at.
So for the next year, we're pretty stable on that. That's one thing our residents are extremely happy about, that they can go to the waste management site at a good cost. But it's extremely scary to understand what that rate study may be charging us in the future. And that's something I do hope somebody in Mountlake Terrace can serve on that to kind of help with that and to have our citizens well represented during that time. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am looking to get representatives from each of the cities in the county on the board, so we have that robust discussion. Because rates are definitely important. And sounds good.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick question that may have a follow-up depending on your answer. You mentioned that all of this, you have to visit all of the Snohomish County cities, and of those that you have visited, have any declined to follow through with adopting it?
No, no, not at all.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. I guess we have no other questions.
Perfect. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. Eric?
Do we have a resolution? Our request is council approval of a resolution adopting the county's solid waste plan, comprehensive plan for the city.
Go ahead.
Thank you,
Does
Mayor. I
anyone
move
have
to
that?
adopt the Snohomish County. I move to adopt the Snohomish County Comprehensive Solid and Hazardous Waste Plan as presented.
Second. And
It's
that's
been-
the 2021
It's been moved
plan.
and
Is that correct? So we're just a year behind on the date of that plan? Just seeking clarification.
We're actually taking it is the 21 plan that we're trying to take the dates off of that. So if you refer to the solid and hazardous waste comprehensive plan, then I think it would be a resolution that you could adopt in future iterations.
Great.
But right now it is the 21 plan.
I'll second to what Councilman Ricardo already put on the floor.
all right. So now we vote all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It passes. Thank you. And thank you very much, John. All right, so next, we're going to take a break. And are we going to stay on the air, or we're actually taking a break?
Mayor, if you recess, I'll pause the recording.
Okay, I'll call for a recess then. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
calendar. We're back in session. Next item on our agenda is the consent calendar. Councilmember Picardo.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the consent calendar, items A through C.
Second. Sorry.
Thank you. It's moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next is our council liaison reports, and I'll just start there at my left side with Councilmember Woodard.
Thank you, Mayor. Correct me if I'm wrong, and it's too late, but I think we go all the way back to the 19th. Our last time together on Monday was the 18th. So on the 19th, the Lake Ballinger McAleer Creek Forum had a very influential meeting. Just awesome. We're having more and more people show up from the public, as well as more partners being consistently in the space. And I look forward to us hopefully hosting here in this space in the very near future, perhaps our next meeting. The next day, we had a DEIC meeting, which was another awesome opportunity. Thank you to Mountlake Terrace News. They always do a wonderful write-up on that, so I would point you in that direction for details. For the 22nd through the 24th, we were together, and I did as much as I could for Tour de Terrace weekend. A lot was going on that weekend, and so pancake feed, I think, was my favorite. I'll go with that on record. On the 26th, I don't have my glasses, that's why I'm looking at this like, what is going on? I was at the Linwood Neighborhood Center donor event, which was just an open house. My colleague spoke to that earlier. Thank you, Mayor, for attending. And I hope to be able to have others learn about the center more thoroughly, although I think you did a great job in those 5 minutes. On the 29th, I figured this out. How about I hold that further away? On the 29th, I attended the State of Tulalip, which was just interesting. I'm okay, thank you, almost done. Thank you, though, appreciate that. State of Tulalip, which really, I bring that up just to say that was the second or third time that I thought to myself, how come we don't have a State of Mountlake Terrace? So just kind of putting that seed out there, because it's just a good opportunity, very well attended. It's actually with their chamber. And I know that we're trying to build up our chamber, so that might be a nice way to bring everyone together to have something like that, just putting that seed out there. The next day, on the 30th, which was a Saturday, I got the opportunity to give the land acknowledgement and be on the planning and implementing team for Nubian Jam, which was up in Everett. It is a celebration of African-American culture, of church culture, of just community in general. 30-plus years this has been going on, which is just my way of saying I'm going to do what I can to make sure that we have more Mountlake Terrace residents up there, because it was an absolute fabulous day of music, and I was just checking people in in the parking lot, and I was still having a great time. On the 2nd, which was a Tuesday moving into August, we had National Night Out, and I will just say Smokey really appreciates being there. And on the 9th, I went back online with Economic Alliance of Snohomish County. They had a wonderful coffee chat. They do these all the time, but this one was on Second Chance Employment. If that sounds of interest to you, they actually recorded it. I'd be happy to send that to you. I can send that. Actually, we probably already have that as a copy, but I would recommend watching it if you get a chance. It was just a powerful dialogue. On the 10th, another powerful Coffee with the City, which I always appreciate those. The residents bring wonderful questions. We actually had a gentleman who's, I don't think he'll mind, in Alaska checking us out because he's already moving back here. He wanted to know a little bit more and figured this might be the venue to do it. And I would argue it was a wonderful conversation. He's looking forward to not having bears to deal with. So we said we can almost promise you that. And then lastly, we were together for a study session on the 11th. End of my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Samar.
Councilman, I was busy looking through our city happenings, because we used to have a city address many years ago that we could probably show you, and we did it through Edmonds Community College. So there's small world, it's circling back right at you. For my report, I just wanted to say I attended a finance meeting, a city manager meeting, and a Left One meeting. And just a brief update, we did lose a police officer and a firefighter who retired from our city many years ago. So I just wanted to put that out there. And then to finish up my report, goodbye, Virginia. That's all I have to report.
Thank you. On the other end, we'll go up to Councilmember Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. I did not go quite back, I think, as far as I should have in my notes, but I did attend on the second National Night Out, which was, again, an amazing event. And just thank you to all of the city staff for making that happen. It's one of my favorite times of the year, and I thought the kind of reimagined places at National Night Out were particularly effective and good opportunities for folks to come together this year. On the 10th, also attended Coffee with the City, and Councilmember Woodard covered that well. Just a reminder to our community that that is something once a month. It's an opportunity to come, ask questions, find out more about what's happening in the city, and it's a great resource, and appreciate the city manager, city clerk, our police chief, being there month in and month out, supporting our community. And then on the 11th was at our work session as well. And that completes my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. On August 9th, I attended the Left One. Did lose someone I knew, was a Mountlake Terrace police officer. And he graduated with me at Blanchette High School. And God rest his soul. And then before that, the 6th, I was at the National Night Out. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ricardo.
Thank you, Mayor. I've had a crazy month of July where I became a double grandpa and took on a new position. I'm going to step out of the classroom, and I'm now in middle school principal for North Shore Christian Academy. But I did manage to attend the Tour de Terrace and last week's workshop. That's the end of my report.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Double grandpa.
Yep.
So it's me. So for my report, on the 21st of July, I attended the Edmonds Art Walk because we didn't have a meeting that night, and I usually miss those. And I always go thinking, when can Mountlake Terrace have an art walk? Someday. On the 22nd, I attended a Board of Health special meeting, and then the Tour de Terrace parade that evening. On the 23rd, I was at the Tour de Terrace booth, city booth, and really, really nice to see the type of attendance that we were getting this year after 2 years of not having any. On the 25th, I attended the Snohomish County Mayor's meeting, and on the 26th, I attended the VOA reception open house for the Linwood Neighborhood Center in Edmonds, and that is going to be some facility. I'm really, really looking forward to it. And then on August 2nd, I attended the National Night Out, and my gosh, the staff really did go all out on that. On August 3rd, I attended the South Snohomish County Mayor's meeting. We have so many little meetings here and there. And then on the 9th, I attended the Board of Health Executive Committee meeting. And on the 10th, I attended the mayor's meeting with the Snohomish County Executive. So that's 3 mayor's meetings. And on the 10th, I attended a meeting. We have a new AWC committee on housing, and I'm on that committee. And then today, I had a one-on-one with the facilitator on the AWC housing. And that is the end of my report. So next will be the city manager's report.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. A few updates for you. It's timely, talking about solid waste. We've received a draft proposal from Waste Management for a new contract. Staff is going through that now, and we will bring that to you for discussion in September with some highlights from it. And then wanted to let you know the state has moved the timeline for when our major comp plan update is due. It had been due at the end of June 2024. They've moved that to the end of the year 2024, an additional 6 months or so. And they've notified us that they have funding available to help us with that. The state has adopted a budget that includes funding for each city to help with that major comp plan update. And then with Dr. Miner here this evening introducing herself, I wanted to remind you that the Foundation for the Edmonds School District has a reception for Dr. Miner on August 25th. We can get you contact information if you would like to attend that. And then lastly, I will save my comments about Virginia for her going away reception, which I've just been informed will include an open house from 3 to 5 here at City Hall on August 31st, followed by a gathering at Diamond Knot at 5:01 after the day is finished. I would point out, though, in the epitome of public servant, her comments earlier today, she spoke about everybody but herself. She spoke about the council, the community, the organization, but not herself, continuing to put others first, which I appreciate so much. It's going to be strange not seeing her when I look left from the penalty box, as she calls it here. But feel free to schedule as many council meetings between now and the end of the month as you'd like so we can just keep reliving this. And that's it, unless you have any questions.
Any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilmember Woodard.
I'm sorry, would you mind confirming that date again?
For the reception?
Yes.
Wednesday, August 31st.
Right, thank you.
3 to 5 in the afternoon here at City Hall, and then at 5:01 over at Diamond Knot.
Okay.
We have the gathering room at Diamond Knot. We do not party.
Well,
It's
we
not
may
party
need more
room.
than the gathering room, but that's fine. All right, so the next thing on our agenda is the review, number 7, review of the 2022 first quarter financial report.
Good evening
have our-
again, Mayor and Council. I want to introduce your new Finance Director, Janella Lewis, who comes to us from the city of Linwood. She will provide a general overview of the first quarter financial report. In the staff report, I mistakenly have it as the fourth quarter 2022. At the end of that, it is the first quarter 2022. I did want to also point out that Janella just successfully completed, after many months of studying, her CPA exam and is now a CPA. So congratulations to her. And with that, I'll turn it over to Janella.
Good evening, I'm Janella. So the review of the 2022 first quarter financial report. The general fund revenues are used to pay for the following programs. You guys probably heard this many times, so I won't read that. So the property tax revenue for the first quarter was 8% of the adopted budget. It's usually customary for that to be low because of the April 30th due date. So that's usually low during the first quarter. Sales tax collections for the quarter totaled $1,150,862, or 39% of the adopted budget. This is an increase of $147,687 over 2021. Utility taxes were slightly above the budget at 26% of the annual budget, totaling $1,104,752 for the quarter. Gambling tax revenues were slightly above the budget projections, totaling $275,000, or 26% of the adopted budget. Gambling tax revenues are almost back to pre-pandemic levels and exceeded 2021 first quarter revenues by $55,562. Admission tax revenues are down to $12,625 compared to the 2021 first quarter actuals of $18,000. The decline in 2021 and 2022 is in direct response to reduction in theater attendance during the pandemic. The development fees totaled $591,091, or 32% of the annual budget. Development fee revenues were higher than projected in 2022 due to the continued increase in development activity within the city. State shared and intergovernmental revenues were 22% of the adopted budget and appear to be back on track to meet budget projections by the end of the year. Fines and forfeitures were well below projections at 7% of the adopted budget. These fees continue to decline and is most likely due to safety procedures put in response to the pandemic. Other fees and charges were slightly above budget, totaling $16,000 or 27% of the adopted budget. The overall general fund operating revenues for the first quarter were at 22% of the 22 adopted budget, which is similar to the past few years. You can see from 2018 to 2022, they all roughly ran about 20% on average. Total general fund operating expenditures for the first quarter were at 29% of the adopted budget, which is pretty much the same as 20 and 21. And street operating fund, let's see, covers the maintenance of the city's public right-of-ways. We have maintenance of 60 miles of city streets, 500 city-owned street lights, 15 signalized lights, 3,300 signs, 70 miles of sidewalk, and the maintenance of all crosswalks and other pavement markings. Street operating fund expenditures through the first quarter represent 17% of the total 2022 budget. Recreation fund covers the revenues and expenditures of the city's rec services, including aquatics, athletic, fitness, youth, and general recreation programs. The fund has a target of recovering 83% of its overall cost through user fees. The remaining 17% of the cost for recreation programs is funded by the general fund. Recreation fund operating revenues for the quarter total 22% of the adopted 22 budget. Revenues from aquatics programs are at 14% of budget. Athletic fitness program revenues are at 41% of the budget as of the end of the first quarter. Youth program revenues are at 28% of the budget. Total recreation operating expenditures at the end of the first quarter were at 21% of the adopted budget. The Stormwater Utility Fund covers the cost of maintaining the city's natural and developed storm and surf water conveyance system in a manner that protects water quality, enhances habitat, controls flooding, and complies with state and federal regulatory requirements. Most revenue in the Stormwater Utility Fund is based on a flat rate and is therefore steady throughout the year. Stormwater operating revenues totaled $893,338, or 20% of the adopted budget at the end of the first quarter, which is within the budgeted projections. Stormwater operating expenses, including debt service, totaled 16% of the adopted 2022 budget at the end of the first quarter. Stormwater operating revenues exceeded operating expenses by approximately $359,457 for the first quarter. These funds will be used to make future debt service payments and capital projects. Same with sewer and water. See, at the end of the first quarter, total sewer operating revenues were at 19% of the adopted 2022 budget. Sewer operating expenses, including debt service, totaled 17% of the adopted 22 budget at the end of the first quarter. Sewer operating revenues exceeded operating expenses by approximately $315,701. Water utility revenues are at 17% of the adopted budget as of the end of the first quarter. Operating expenses, including debt service, total 14% of the adopted budget at the end of the first quarter. Water operating revenues exceeded expenses by $348,000 for the first quarter. And real estate excise tax fund totaled $546,547. This represents 121% of the adopted budget, so it came in over budget. The street construction fund, the ending fund balance totals $4,024,941 at the end of the first quarter, and is mostly transportation impact fees, which are restricted in use for capital improvement projects. In summary, the city's first quarter finances highlight the council's adherence to finance policies, not only enabled the city to handle the financial strain of a pandemic recession, and programs supporting economic development are providing a foundation of increased sales tax revenue from residents, businesses, and new construction. And there is a 27-page report in detail for the first quarter.
All right, thank you. That was your first report.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
I talked fast.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? Councilmember Woodard?
I'm going to frame them more as comments than questions. If I followed correctly, the gambling tax is almost back to where it is, which is just my way I wanted to pass on to you, that if you wouldn't mind keeping an eye on that, my concern is that's not a good thing. I call those the sin tax. I think the world calls those the sin tax, and I find that curious that that's the first thing that seems to be back on top. So just keeping an eye on that to let us know if that seems to be, I mean, great, it's revenue, but that's not the type of revenue I think we want. So just in the spirit of keeping track of how our residents are doing, I think that's one of the litmus tests out there. I couldn't tell, moving on the animal licensing because it's combined, but I'd be curious to know if we are seeing more licensing. We've gone online. I don't know that you would know that per se, so it's a new process. So theoretically speaking, we would think we'd see an increase, but I'd be curious to see if that's playing out. So yeah, that actually, if you're ready to answer that, we'll go for it.
Yeah, since Janella wasn't here, since this is first quarter report, we didn't actually go live, I don't think, until February or March. So I think you won't really see an increase until the next quarterly report.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. So that's another one of those, just curious to keep an eye on it, I think is the word I want to use. And then if I heard you right, the sewer fund was over budget or over expenditure, expenditure-wise?
No.
That's probably my just not following how that works. I get lost in inverses. So I'm just
Yeah, the revenues exceeded operating expenses.
Oh, the revenues.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was reversed. I was going to say, what is going on in the sewer? We were just talking. Like, what? Okay, so take that off the
Maybe
concerns.
I misread it, I don't know.
No, I'm sure it was me. I two negatives make a positive, the whole thing, so all good. So thank you, wonderful report. Thank you for delivering it. And like I say, just want to give you a heads up on a couple things that I'm curious to keep an eye on.
Okay, I'll
That
keep
may
an
seem
eye on
minor to others, but I think is, again, my business. So thank you.
All right. Great.
Okay, I don't see anyone else. So thank you very much. Okay, so next is the discussion of the ARPA funding uses.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Once again, we put this on the agenda this evening before we were aware that Mayor Pro Tem Wall would be absent for the discussion. But I did want to provide you information on the various discussion topics that the council has had over the past year, coming from the community poll that was done at the beginning of this year, as well as the county's Recovery Roadshow that was hosted here at the Civic Campus this spring, Mayor Pro Tem's list of ideas for the use of ARPA funds that is categorized based on council goals. And I wanted to see if the council has any consensus on projects or programs that you would like to see us use ARPA funds for as part of the 2023-2024 budget that we are preparing for your consideration this fall. I know there's a long list of items, and we're not set up this evening to have you write them down on easels and rank them with colored dots like the county's roadshow. I think that would be an opportunity for you, probably a good opportunity that we'll pursue. But if the council has any overarching projects or programs that you have consensus on that you would like us to explore further, put some numbers to, be happy to do that as we move forward into the budgeting process.
Councilmember Picardo?
Thank you, Mayor. Just kind of reviewing the handout that's in our agenda, as well as the kind of the draft action plan that the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem delivered to us last workshop. I mean, as far as, I like what I see in the direction and the lack of a better word, the buckets that we're looking, ways to spend our money. I would like us to, I guess because we're 4 square miles, first of all, figure out within the 4 square miles, what do our residents really need and are they looking for, and what services we might be lacking to meet those needs, and then how we can expand our vision and look more regionally. Like we heard a presentation tonight from the VOAWW of Western Washington about the Linwood Neighborhood Center. I mean, that might be something I would be very interested in looking at, how we can assist that program and get that going and become a regional partner. There's one nonprofit that I'm kind of interested in. It's called Hand in Hand up in Everett on Casino Road, and it just helps families in need with all kinds of extensive programs and things like that that I think would help with, serving the underserved. So I'd like to just, have some time to talk about those kind of programs where, like I said, we're 4 square miles. So what in, realizing we are a community, but sometimes we're a smaller community, and, some of these programs like the VOA presented, the Hand in Hand, they do a lot of work with families that are in the Edmond School District that, are directly affected. That might not be in our actual city limits, but they are part of our region and are kind of the South County, if you want to look at it, So those are some ideas that I have, expanding as well as looking inward in our own city, how we can best use those funds. And I guess another thing, if I wanted to really promote the Hand in Hand, do I have the I guess freedom or the latitude to ask the executive director to come and do a presentation to the council on their program and things like that, just to kind of get that conversation going?
You do. Any council member can sponsor an item on the agenda and ask for it to be placed there. So if you would like that, just let us know.
Or it could be under public comment like tonight's was, just to introduce. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Not during public comment. It would be during public.
Our council rules, I just wanted to make sure.
No, the agenda item, I guess, for me would be more, when we do talk about this, we take a look outside and become more regional partners. But if I wanted to promote something, a program that, I'm kind of invested in and believe in and think, then I could just have them come during public comment and introduce.
Well, I don't have a concern about that at all.
Right.
I just want to make sure that when we're talking about what can be put on an agenda, what is the protocol for that? Because I used to, and I don't have any issue, but I just want to make sure that we're looking at our protocols, because I thought it used to be 4 council members that had to approve an item. But if it's bucketed within an item, then I don't see any issue, but.
Yeah, no, my intention wasn't to have that hand-in-hand nonprofit be an agenda item. It would be more of, if I wanted the executive director to come in and do a presentation, they could do it in public comment. And then as we talk about how we want to, it has, the agenda item is the discussion of the ARPA funds. But my point would be is to begin looking outside our borders and looking at programs that we can really glob onto and support and believe in that way. So, yes.
Thanks for clarifying that.
You bet. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilmember Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. Directed to the city manager on household assistance, rent or mortgage payments, utility bills, medical bills. Have we had a lot of people call about this yet? And then once we initiate this, How do we disseminate this information to them? Thank you.
I think an example would be the utility assistance that we are providing through Volunteers of America, Western Washington. The City Council approved a contract with VOA where we're providing ARPA dollars. And then we sent information out to the community that had outstanding utility bills. We did something similar with CARES Act funds through VOA to help with rent, and sent information out to the community to let them know about that program as well. And the advantage with VOA was that when residents contacted VOA about the assistance from the city, VOA was able to offer them additional assistance through other programs that VOA offers. And so it was somewhat of a one-stop shop for people to get assistance.
Great, thank you.
So Councilmember McCardle gave me an idea because Cocoon House is looking for volunteers to house some of the homeless youth that they house. And so that'll be the whole county. And I can have Joe Alonso come, CEO or the chair in charge, the person in charge, come and talk about that too. But they're looking for a lot of South County help because there's a lot of need down in South County. So that's another one too that we can partner with. And I can have him come during public comments too. Or maybe even on Zoom. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I like kind of the outline that the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem put together and grounding our, I think, ARPA spending around our values and goals. I think that makes a lot of sense. So I appreciate kind of that starting to firm up kind of what those buckets look like and what could potentially fall under them. I really like the idea. I think we've talked about this, but I would love a working session where it is a little bit, I think it's a great idea, the idea of inviting community partners who we might potentially partner with to learn more about the organizations and the work that they're doing, and to really dig in a little bit more into how we as a council think about some of these things and start to prioritize them, because there is obviously lots of things I think we would like to do, and trying to figure out how to proceed I know is a challenge. I think some of the things that personally are important to me and that come to mind as we're thinking about ARPA spending is one, thinking about how we set up our community for future success. I think we know that there's a lot of change and growth coming to Mountlake Terrace, and I think funding some of those things in the interim is challenging. So thinking about pilot programs or pilot roles or things that could help potentially set us up until those revenues start to come in from the growth that we are expecting to see is something I want to have some conversation around. I think one of the things I'd like us to have some conversation around, I love the idea of partnership, and I think if we can plug into some big things that are doing important work that impact our community, I would love to entertain those conversations. And I also want us to think intentionally about the role that only we can play here in our community, because I do think there's a lot of needs specifically within our community, particularly when we think about grassroots organizations and volunteer organizations and nonprofits that do a lot of the work. I mean, we just recognized the Smith family and the Tour de Terrace, organization tonight. There are the Garden Club we talked about tonight. There's a lot of work that's being done in our community by nonprofits that we hear time and time again are stretched to recruit volunteers to do the work that they are doing, to maintain operations. And so I think thinking about whether that is an umbrella organization that helps support our local community organizations or some other sort of solution there, I do think we need to think about how we help ensure that the things that make our community really special are things that not only can continue but can scale as we grow into the future. And then I think just community in general. I have lots of, I think, smaller things that I would love to have us talk about doing, whether that is, I think it was the city manager's idea about, a block party trailer, or I think just thinking about some of those small investments that we could make that have the opportunity to have really, I think, big outsized impact based compared to the cost that they would potentially cost us. So I think those are high level kind of my thoughts, but would love to get a working session in place where we can kind of, I think, a little bit more informally, I think, work through some of these things, because I think there's so many great ideas and would love to start narrowing those down, and maybe having us council members, to Councilmember McCardle's point, do some of that legwork to bring forward more data and information so that ultimately we can make some informed decisions and help guide city staff to move forward on some of these projects. So thank you.
Can we have a retreat that will be just on the ARPA funds? Because I don't know if, 1 to 3 hours even is going to be enough to go through all of these lists with 7 people chiming in on certain things. We can do it at a work study session, but we don't want to be here all night. And I just think that something like this would be something that we can do a Saturday retreat on. And I know, that it's a Saturday or a Sunday, and it's going to be hard to get us all to get our calendars together. But it's either that or to do it right, going to be several work sessions. I don't think we can do it in one. Something to think about, because we want to get this right. Also, I would like to see more technology, because we need to get new laptops and we need to get new phones that are going to work for everybody. So more technology, less firewalls. We have a lot of things. If we can just get money into where we need it right now. We have a brand new city hall with all the bells and whistles, but doesn't really do anything if all the other things don't work. So anyways, we have a lot of talking to do. And also, one of the things that we're talking about here is the arts and culture and diversity. Giving money to our boards and commissions for their budget is a very, very small portion, and it can do so much for what they can, like the diversity committee, the DEI committee. A few $1,000s would really help get them started on something. The arts commission, even though they have a line item on there, it would help. And then and some of the others, just it's not a lot of money. So we're looking at just a very, very small amount of money to a lot of money. So even though the buckets are here, the buckets are listed, but now we have to get the money part, because some of these are not going to cost us a lot of money and others will. So we're going to need to talk about this, and it's going to take more time than just a few evenings. Anyone else? Okay, Councilmember Woodard and then Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. With that idea of it's going to take a lot of time, I would argue it's already taken a lot of time, which is just to say I feel like we keep kicking this can down the road. I'd love to nail something down, and I guess we already have with the utilities, but to add more stuff to that. That said, and in the spirit of full disclosure, the 5 minutes that was presented to us is not doing that resource justice. So I heard in this conversation that if I have 4 votes to say, yes, you can get something on the agenda, that we'd be able to do that. So I would like to go ahead and go on record right now as saying I would welcome the opportunity to give the VOA Western Washington a chance to come and actually give you the full picture of what this resource really looks like, including the partners. Under the timeline, he wasn't able to really to share everything that they've been doing. I am a they in that sentence, for the record, which is the other part of this full discussion or full disclosure. My vote is absolutely already on board for us figuring out how to be involved in this. I attended quite a few of the county road shows, and mental health came up as number one pretty much in every road show. We had that very road show here. We set the tone for that, and we saw that that was definitely on the list. And then when we did our own survey, so let me pause and say thank you to the 120 residents who filled that survey out. Presuming it was presented as it was, mental health came up as number one, but I go back to Councilmember McCardle's point that we're 4 square miles, which begs the question, how can we really make an impact? And I can just tell you, this is a very clear means for doing that on so many levels. That said, I don't think the 5 minutes is enough, but you'll have to trust my judgment when I tell you I changed careers because of this Linwood Neighborhood Center. That is not a hyperbole, that is a genuine statement. I changed fields and careers to bring this thing to fruition, and what the VOA is doing. Not just that, but that was a big part of that. And I would welcome the chance to give you all that same energy and recognize that this is a beautiful opportunity to think regionally. It's going to be regional either way, but wouldn't it be better if we were already invested in that and making our residents very much aware that this is an opportunity for them to take care of their families. So I don't know how we go forward other than I'm asking for 4 votes. Mine's one of them, to have the VOA on our calendar sooner rather than later versus us do a work session. Because the last time we tried to put our calendars together, it took about 3 months to get one Saturday, and I can tell you we don't have that type of time. This is an acute situation. I think that's the right word. I'm using big words for no reason. This is time sensitive. A lot is hanging in the balance in terms of bringing an opportunity like this forward or not. So that's my plea to say, can we get it on the agenda sooner than our retreats? So that's an actual question to the council, I guess, or to the city manager, to the council. I'm not sure how that works.
In the past, we had presentations from things like this that came, all they had to do was contact the city, and then the city put it on the agenda before, like Boy Scouts recognition and all of that. We didn't have votes of the council to have them do that. And then we also had presentations from Edmonds Community College, Edmonds School District, and we had all of those presentations come. Even Verdant came and talked and so forth. Can this be one of those that they just come in the very, very beginning?
It can be. What a theme that I'm hearing from your discussion tonight is wanting to address the needs of the community, yet needing to know what those needs are, because we don't have a real good source of information to know what those needs are. Is it housing, financial assistance, food? I would suggest that we ask the nonprofits in the region to submit information for the council to consider that identifies what they are seeing as a need in the community. And they may not have it specific to Mountlake Terrace, but maybe South County or the school district area, something like that, the hospital district, and what they would do with ARPA funding to help the community meet the needs that they've identified, which may be, child care, medical care, mental health, food. We don't know. I think a lot of the responses we got through our poll were from people that were identifying what should be the priorities, but not necessarily having the data of how big that need is. So when you're trying to put dollars towards a need and we don't know how big that need is, we need to rely on others that have that information. So I would suggest we reach out to those nonprofits and ask them what they're seeing, what programs they have in place or would put in place to serve those needs in Mountlake Terrace, and what the costs would be for that. Essentially, it would be a request for proposals so that we'd provide an outline and they would be providing the information that you need to then have a discussion about how to go forward. So education first, and then you're making an informed decision based on how that matches up with your goals and values. I'd suggest.
Go ahead, Councilmember McCardle.
And I like that idea. I can be on board with it. Is there some kind of your request for proposal, is there some kind of document we already have worked up that if I wanted to, I could reach out to the hand-in-hand nonprofit in Everett and say, here's this form, can you fill it out and submit it to the city manager? Or what would that process look like?
Nothing comes to mind that we have that we could use as a template. Yet, I imagine we're not the first city that's done this, so we would reach out to other cities to see how they've gone about doing this, to get proposals for these sorts of services. And then we would tailor that to Mountlake Terrace and broadcast a wide net to the nonprofits, but certainly make it available on our website so that you, council, or anybody in the community can pass it on to nonprofits that you may be aware of to provide that service.
But in the meantime, if I wanted to contact a nonprofit, I would ask them to submit information just in general about their nonprofit. And then what kind of needs are you seeing within the community? What services would you offer? Maybe even not when they current offer, but what services they'd like to start up. And then what would be a kind of a price range of that? Just kind of general like that?
Right,
Okay.
right.
All right. Thank you.
Broad-based. What are the needs they're seeing? How would they meet those needs? What's their experience meeting those needs? And what are they looking for in terms of funding to meet that need?
You both put it up at the same time. Councilmember Ryan and then Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. I like the idea of partnerships. I know there's great partnerships with Marysville and Everett, especially with the 3 hotels they own to put homeless in. And then is that Linwood that just purchased a hotel on Evergreen Way? These great partnerships. But with that, we have a list in front of us. Kind of want to hit our community first. So looking at our list with number 1, community, public health, et cetera, number 2, household assistance and that. And like our mayor said, we are going to need to talk about, where these funds are going to go. So I don't know if we should think about, okay, this gets instead of a dollar amount, this is a percentage here, a percentage here. I don't know how we're going to do it. This is just very large because we have community, household assistance, infrastructure. I see a lot of holes being dug in the roads because our water mains are going out. I walk by this neighbor's house daily, walking my dog, and there's always water there. Next thing you know, they're digging it up and putting a water main in. So, we have that infrastructure. So, and it goes on here, childcare, daycare. There it is, investing in our infrastructures. I don't know if we really can make homes affordable. We could do some things, but that'd be something, good topic for the real estate people. Why are the houses going up besides supply and demand? What can we do about it? Can I just say, hey, I'm Councilmember Ryan, and your homes are going down price, and it's going to be lower? I don't think that's going to work. Anyway, next. So in other words, I'm making a point here. I don't control the market. We have arts and culture, and the mayor was talking about that with our commissions. I'd love that, but I think money got to go first to people that really have to have it with rent and mortgage? Isn't that more important? I don't know. So what we got to talk about it, and what is a percentage? A percentage for this, a percentage for that. So I don't know. We can't put it all on you. That's going to be a long topic. I think our mayor was correct. We're going to have like a whole works session at least to talk about this. So anyway, I just wanted to throw my 2 bits in there. Thank you.
Councilmember Murray?
Thank you, Mayor. I feel like I lost train of thought here. I liked, City Manager, thank you for the idea of kind of a request for proposal or information. I think that's a good direction and would be helpful for us as we're trying to figure out what some of these potential projects would look like. It would be helpful for me, very open to the idea of looking at projects that are impactful beyond our beyond our borders. And I guess I would want to make sure that there's a specific question around how that would impact folks within our community directly. Open to maybe we want to invest in things that don't. And I think I would love that for the organizations that are doing work specifically with Mountlake Terrace residents, businesses, whatever the case may be, I would love to make sure that we have that understanding as we're going into that conversation, because at least for me, that will be part of my decision-making process where I would like to see funds go. I think in kind of expanding on the idea of asking nonprofits to potentially provide more information, I think to Councilmember Ryan's point, there's a lot of different pieces of this, and I think maybe expanding who we're asking for requests for proposals from as well. I loved the mayor's idea of, making sure that our boards and commissions are supported if there are asks there, and having a conversation around that. I think, working with the Alliance for Housing Affordability to talk through what investments could we be making with ARPA funds that could potentially make a difference in housing affordability. And so I guess maybe expanding that ask beyond just nonprofits we know are doing work in our local region and community, but also kind of working with other city partners to ensure that we are asking if they have specific ideas, that the more specificity they can come and present to us with, the more likely it is we will be able to include their project as part of our plan. So thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Woodard?
Sorry, I didn't follow my answer to my question of whether or not we can have the agenda item for VOA Western Washington. So that's the first question, and then I will follow that up with a comment to the council as a FYI. So did we get anywhere with that, or? Because what I can tell you is everything you just asked that you would like to see, absolutely can do that.
Do we need that as an agenda item, or can they just come and present like we used to have people come in and ask if they could present things? And then we'd have them at the very, very beginning.
Yeah, the 2 categories of groups we would typically have presentations with are public agencies or organizations that we have a contract with. So you've got Economic Alliance that we contract with. You've got the school district, the hospital district as public agencies. We have a contract with VOA, so having them come in and provide an update on their programs, especially as their contract, that would be something we've done in the past. I believe they've presented to the council in the past, so I think that's just extending an invitation to VOA to have them come in and talk. And then we would send out, I'm hearing consensus from the council, or at least a majority of council, that the idea of getting input from nonprofits and other service providers on a range of meeting community needs to provide you that information to make an educated decision on the use of the funds would be a good next step. And I think first we'd focus maybe on issues of life, health, safety. So that priority in your financial rationale and focus on those needs of the community, and then certainly your additional goals, housing, long-range goals. I think those big, momentous, impactful pilot programs, investment in children is going to pay dividends decades from now. When you make that investment today, dividends in the future. That's not something that we readily invest in typically because it doesn't have an impact today. But like housing, what you do today has a big impact down the road. So.
And that was a wonderful setup for my comment. So thank you for that. I would first say, I'm going to speak for VOA and say we could do both and do a presentation as a already partner, but also go through the RFP the way we're describing it, if that's how we want to proceed. But the setup that you just did nicely, if you have any connections to the Linwood City Council, just know that they are in for 7 figures for the Linwood Neighborhood Center. Because for that very reason that you just described. You can't see it today, but they recognize this is an important investment that's going to have all kinds of dividends if we stick with the economic terminology here. But remember, we're talking about real families at the end of all of this. Because, again, Linwood, it's in their interest, right? It's got their name on the front end. But they also recognized when we were going to change the name that they were still open to it. So I would say your connections on that council would answer a lot of your questions. But again, I'm sure VOA would do both, come present as well as an RFP.
So what the Linwood Neighborhood Center, I can see a presentation come from them to explain what it's all about. And then maybe, once we find out a little bit more what that is and how it can impact Mountlake Terrace and Edmonds and so forth, then we can start talking about, whether or not we want to be a part of that too, because that's a regional center rather than just a Linwood Center. And many of our people are going to be using it. Councilmember McCardle?
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm in agreement with that. I would like to hear more from the VOA, whether it's just as a presentation before we jump into our agenda, or if we need to have it on the agenda, then I'm in favor of that. One thing maybe to set kind of a direction for further discussion on this is maybe we should take a look at, as a council, kind of figure out where would we like to spend our money for city things that we want to see done, as far as are we all interested in talking about how can we use ARPA funds to enhance our infrastructure? Or are we all on board with spending money to conduct a market analysis to determine trends and identify potential businesses that could, fill markets? So those little things that are in the memo or on this proposal from the Mayor Pro Tem, things that we could do in the at the city level that would, help impact the future of the city, and then take a look at services that we'd like to see offered, whether, that we know that our residents have access to. It may not directly be program for Mountlake Terrace residents, but they would have access to it, because right now, as a city, if you look at our city, we as a city do not offer any services that are city-sponsored or city, we don't. We always have to partner. So I guess I don't know, I'm just thinking off the cuff, and I don't do that very often. Normally I spend a lot of time reflecting, but the 2 buckets I was thinking about is what are things we would want to do with the money that would really advance our city as we look at the development and light rail. Is it, like I was mentioning, is it, do you do a market analysis to trends? Do we want to spend money putting in place infrastructure projects, or do we want to develop and implement housing action plan? Spend money there for city program in that bucket, knowing that we're going to have to partner with nonprofits and other cities in order to offer services around rental assistance and mortgage payments or mental health or, drug rehab programs and things like that. So maybe that would be a place to start the conversation, figure out, then we could put percentages on, okay, if we have this bucket of services we want to provide, and these are programs we want to do in the city, how do you want to divide your money up that way? I don't know, just trying to think. But it is a long conversation, and trying to do it on one workshop or, within a month, do it in 2 of them, I don't think it's going to get us where we want to go when we want to get there. So, thank you.
Councilmember Ryan?
I like the idea with Councilmember McCardle adding to that, because we do need partnerships. Here's a question to the city manager. Is it possible, like we say, okay, we're going to do 25% for number 1, that's not up here. Come on, computer. Household assistance. We'll say, okay, that's getting 25%. Could we say that, of course, and then go, and then work on other things later? Or do we have to come up with everything at once? That's my question.
Yeah, council has to the end of 2024 to encumber the funds. So you have to have identified how they're going to be spent under contract by the end of 2024. And then you've got into 2026 to actually spend them. So for example, if you entered a contract with a social service provider in December of 2024, that over the course of 2025, they were going to provide $100,000 worth of services, you would have met that requirement. You've identified where the money is going. It's under contract by the end of 2024. And then 25 and 26, you can spend it. So you're really looking at over 2 years to decide, if you so choose, how to spend the money. The end of 2024.
Continue. Okay, that gives us time, but then, as some council members said before, we have some time-sensitive issues. Like, I can't make my rent, and I'm going to get thrown out in 3 months, but someone's going to help me in 2 years. So that's just I'm just thinking kind of like that. I don't know. When I was 21, 22, I wasn't doing really well. I was on food stamps. And I didn't last very long because I didn't fit in their system. So I had to eat federal cheese for a while. That's like a cheap Belvita. And then until I found a job. And I just know how some people are. I mean, you can't wait 2 years. Thank you.
Councilmember Murray?
Thank you, Mayor. I guess a question for the city manager. So we had put into place a partnership to support kind of immediate needs around, COVID-related, lack of ability to pay rent and bills and whatnot. I guess, where do those stand? And I guess to Councilmember Ryan's point, are we seeing ongoing need that we are not actively addressing?
I'm not aware of a need. I'm just not, I don't have data. What I am aware of, when the council first started talking about using the ARPA dollars over a year ago, when we first learned about them, one of the AWC, National League of Cities, and others were recommending that cities wait to see what states and counties did with their dollars to meet immediate needs. Because you may recall, with the CARES Act funds, you would identify a use such as helping with rent, and then it seemed like within 48 hours, the state had announced it was going to provide rent assistance with its CARES Act. And so this time, the state and county, they led with rental assistance, food assistance, utility assistance, and there wasn't that immediate call on the city to provide that support. I think that if we get feedback from nonprofits that are in the area of public service providing, we'll have a better understanding of what the needs are now and opportunities for you to fill those gaps in the community and the region. That's my thinking.
Thank you, helpful. And I guess I would just add, I think to Councilmember Ryan's point, I think if there are those sorts of immediate ongoing needs that aren't being addressed, if those could be elevated in our conversations, like I very much would support the idea of us having a workshop. I think the mayor, I thought that was a good idea and would love to maybe see if we can find that time so that we can put it on calendars. And if there are things that are more time sensitive, would also ask that I guess we consider those on a one-off basis.
I don't know if we can, oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. So I guess maybe a first step, city managers, could we reach back out to those initial nonprofits that we partnered with in the beginning and see and ask them the question? Are you still seeing those needs? Do you need more money? Or are there other needs that you're being asked to fill and you're not able to? And how can we begin partnering? So reach out to those same nonprofits we've already established a relationship with to begin getting some data, since we don't know any of it. Might be a good place to start.
Sure, and I think, yes, we'll do that. And I think to add to that, I've heard that food banks are seeing an increase in families coming through with inflation as it is. So although it may not be related to COVID, the need is still there, but it's brought on by something else today. So we can reach out to the food banks and others that we've contracted with when we spent CARES Act funds to see what their needs are.
Go ahead, Councilmember Sonmore.
Just closing comments. I'd like to see that list, and I do think the 3 dots would be a good way to go. We look at all our different priorities that are on the list that we have now. We look at our community needs, we look at our partnering needs, and we see how much money that we have spent and the total budget for where we can make an impact. But keep it simple, keep it lean, and I know a lot of people want to come in for RFAs, and I'm assuming that people that are partnership already have something to go and they've been giving it to the other cities. But this is something we've talked about for quite a long time. And I think we're ready to go on looking at that funding need, but then also reserving part of it for next year as well. So there's a budget component, there's a community component, there's a partnership component, and the one thing that we haven't talked about either is there's the city component of actually, I think the mayor touched upon that, of what the city needs as well. So if we can further bucket them down and then the council could prioritize, then we could kind of know where to go. Sometimes I think the more we talk about it, the more it's that ripple effect. And I think if we just kind of hone it back in again and bring it up to that higher level and then kind of project management out from there, I think we'll be able to go quicker, faster, and doing a very efficient job that way.
So, as I was going to say, trying to pick a time if we're going to do a workshop is probably, we probably have to wait for Mayor Pro Tem Wall to get back, and then try to figure out which Saturday, Sunday, or whatever, because it was so hard to get us together all at once the last time. So I'm looking at probably September, October, before we can even hope to get together. And is that going to be too late for any of this? Go ahead, Councilmember.
Can I just ask for the city to put a plan together so we can kind of coordinate our efforts? And then if we go into that workshop, we'd have it all orchestrated on the breakdowns of what we need. because I see the conversation kind of circling, and we need to kind of start making those decisions, and maybe we can do those at meetings before our council meetings or meetings after, because one of the things that I'd like to bring up, and it's kind of out of content, is we need to do this with our city downtown as well. So maybe we bucket something, we know how important this is, but we also have our big priority within our city is also looking at our, building out our city downtown. And so putting into efforts, we've got to really kind of look at our resources and how much effort we have to put into each topic and how can we lean that out so we can make good decisions. So I'm asking for a plan to come back on what we can do with these ARPA funds.
So, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Piggybacking on that, I like that having an area to focus on. Could we use our memorandum dated August 15th with those categories? I mean, there's that one too, but where it says 1, community public health, 2 is household assistance, 3 is infrastructure, 4 is business, nonprofit, et cetera, et cetera. Could we use that as a thing to go by?
Well, I envision the workshops as a time to hone in on what's important. And then before that, I thought that the city, all the departments were going to kind of give us a price tag on what certain things are going to cost. And so there's 2 steps to it. We're going to have to get together to see what our A, B's, and C's are, you know, what our priorities are, and then find out what the costs are going to be. And I thought that that's what the city was going to work on. And then when we get, so when we do our workshop, then we already have numbers that will come in with some of these priorities that we won't know that are priorities yet, because we're going to be working on, during the workshop, we're going to talk about what the priorities. That's how I envisioned it. Because we have two sets of paper right now, and I was going to try to get the 2 together and then see what we can, you know, because the city staff is probably going to be doing a lot of price tagging on a lot of things, and then we have to just, during our workshop, hone in on what's going to be the most important. Does everyone agree with that? Go ahead, Councilmember Murray, and then Sonmore.
Thank you, Mayor. I think for me, it would be helpful as we're trying to prioritize. I think there are a lot of worthwhile places that we could potentially invest our money. And so I think thinking about cost versus impact is going to be an important part of my decision making, at least. So I don't think we need like granular, like specific estimates, but like rough ballpark. I mean, are we talking thousands of dollars or, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars? I mean, so I think just rough ballpark so we can get an idea of, you know, if this is one of our choices, like what is the cost and what do we think the results and the impact will be from those funds invested? So yeah, for me, it would be very helpful to have some rough cost estimates as we're trying to prioritize this work.
Okay, Councilmember Sonmore.
I just want to be very cognizant of our staff levels and how and who is going to do this work, because we do have to prioritize our other city visions that we have. And so we understand this is extremely important, but I'm not trying to turn it into a science project. I'm trying to turn it into something that we have this data, we vote, and then we kind of move on from there, because we have some other very important issues in our city too. And maybe we have a string of workshops, but can we handle having a string of workshops? So I think we have to be careful sometimes what we ask for and how it's going to be implemented. And we need to look at those different factors right now and looking at how much time will be spent on this, because I think we have to manage our expectations a little bit on what we have and our resources within the city, because a lot of it, I think, is going to be going, we've got a new finance director, we've got different things going on, we've got building codes, and so I think we need to really focus on how to lean this out and get to the point where we want to. It's nice having a workshop, but we need to go in there with a strict agenda. We need to be able to understand how we're going to prioritize and understand how long this will take us. So I'm just asking to manage our expectations on what we want done by when.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Councilmember Sonmore. I appreciate the reminder of knowing our resources and thinking about how those impact our ability to move forward the work. I guess for me, that brings forward, like, how do we think differently about how we approach some of this? And I know one of the things that some communities have done is engaged in a contractor to help them to move through the process of working through their ARPA fund delegations and work. And so I guess that would be a question for me, for the city manager. Does it feel like if we brought in a consultant and had consensus to do so from the council to help us get some of these pieces in place to help us do the prioritization and kind of mapping out of where funds are going to go and how that's going to work, is that something that would be useful from a city staff perspective to help us both be thoughtful and make sure that we are taking this once in a generation investment that we get to make in our community and can be thoughtful about that investment, but also recognize, that there is, a lot on city staff's plate and want to not overload all of you.
I very much appreciate that. And I would never turn down an offer for assistance if the council's comfortable with it. So, one of staff's high priorities in concert with the list you put together is some staff help. Your list includes increasing community communication, more events, outreach to businesses, assistance with boards and commissions. So all of that, having additional staff resources goes a long way to doing that, even if it's only for 2-3 years, and then the city has to start funding that position if we keep it going, but initially from ARPA funds. Having a facilitator guide the council's discussion on how to use ARPA funds, I think, is a great idea. I think that maybe we start by getting you the information about what nonprofits and other organizations are seeing in terms of needs in the community and their ideas to address it and their proposals. In addition, staff has started putting numbers to the list the mayor and mayor pro tem put together. They are rough order of magnitude numbers because it's somewhat answering the question, how long is a piece of string? It depends on how much you want to cut, how much you want. For example, we could take $4 million of the ARPA funds for Main Street Phase 2, but that's a big chunk. But it's on that list so that that range of opportunities. So we'll provide you with those rough order of magnitude cost estimates so you have that idea.
Thank you. I think that would be great. Could we maybe get consensus from the council as well to ask you to put together a proposal for what would be helpful from a staffing perspective to support ARPA fund allocation and expenditure?
Yeah, with the city clerk, community relations director going away, we need like 13 people to fill her position. So if we could get that would be great.
Definitely not tackling that today.
No, we will. We'll put that together as part of the list.
Great, thank you.
Okay. And To clarify, I was only talking about one work session, not work session, work retreat. Okay. So, did we
Provide direction.
Yes.
Here's what I've heard. We're going to reach out to nonprofits and other organizations to get their input on the gaps they see the community needs, together with those organizations that we worked with CARES Act funds, to see what their needs are, and bring you that information back so you can have a discussion together with our cost estimate for the list the Mayor Pro Tem put together of projects and ideas, and included in that is some staffing costs for various elements of the list. So if I've got that correct.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. As City Manager, I guess the only thing I would add is just maybe the inclusion of reaching out to city boards and commissions and staff. Actually, I don't think I said that before, but I mean, I would welcome those who are closest to a lot of this work if they have ideas where we could be investing some of these funds to be impactful. Would love to make sure that those are brought forward as well.
We did, I was just reminded, we did reach out to boards and commissions. We have a list. When we did the poll earlier this year, we heard back from them with some ideas as well. So thank you. We'll get that back to you as well.
All right. So you have some direction.
Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, so we're done with that. And next on our agenda is new business. Does anyone have any new business? Go ahead, Councilmember Woodard.
Thank you, Mayor. You could have gone in the previous section. I'll do it here. If you are not familiar with what's going on with our food banks, that's VOA again, you can go to King 5 News and Google my name, and you'll see an interview come up where they do a pretty good job, all things considered. And if you're a Spirit 105.3 listener, you can Google my name there as well and find an interview there as well. It's pretty dire, is what I would tell you, is what you're going to hear when you talk to any of the food banks, any of the coalition members, or us at the distribution center. So just kind of put that out there, that you don't have to wait for that. That's actually already out there. That's a national trend right now. But we do have some local data for what that's worth to know.
Anyone else? Well, I just wanted to just add that I attended an Edmonds ribbon cutting today at the last minute. And it was for 3 pieces. It was for the arts. I don't think they have an arts commission. They have an arts board. And it was for a new piece of art right next to City Hall. And it was to do with garden, and it was gorgeous. And it was a ribbon cutting, and the mayor cut the ribbon. They do it a little differently there. And their scissors are smaller than ours. And then there was another county, a city council person from Edmonds there. I think 2 of them. But it was nice to witness another city doing, and a city that actually has so many art things going on. And my friend is the head of the art walk this year, so she dragged me out over there, and then I think that I'm going to ask her to speak to the Arts Commission, because Judy liked the idea of having her come. She says she's the head of the art walk, and she's also head of the mural committee for Edmonds, and so we can talk about murals in Mountlake Terrace, and she can talk about that. And then I drove past the Linwood heart sculpture over by the convention center at night, the other night, and it was lit, and there were people dancing in front of it. It was just wonderful. So I love seeing artwork out there and people enjoying the artwork. And that's my report. Anyone else?
On that note, I just want to let you know that when the meeting's over, I'll be dancing in front of the fountain out here. And if anybody wants to join me, we'll be on this side of the fountain, and please do not fall in.
Well, we had to end Virginia's last meeting.
I'll be joining him. Mayor, I just had a quick question on the food bank. We are deciding tomorrow what to put in the October city happening, so I could fit in an article on the need for food banks. And, you know, we did take a pretty good donation at National Night Out, and we had a lot more you didn't see from the police and public works departments along with recreation. So we took it all there the Monday after National Night Out, but we could definitely fit that in the next issue. Okay.
Okay. All right. If there, no one else has anything to add to new business, so next thing on our agenda is to adjournment.
Recording stopped.
I forgot to use this.